Hi, I'm Antonella. Today, I'm going to tell you my story. But before I continue, please like, share, and subscribe to hear more stories like this. It all started 3 years ago when my mom married Richard Dawson. At first, I was happy for her. She deserved someone after Dad passed away. I was 23 and working at a small accounting firm while finishing my business degree. Mom had been struggling to keep our family restaurant afloat, and Richard seemed like the answer to our prayers. He was successful, owned 3 restaurants in the city, and promised to help expand our family business. Antonella, I want you to meet Richard's son, Trevor, Mom said during our first family dinner together. He just graduated with his MBA. Trevor shook my hand with a grip that was too firm. Nice to meet you. Dad says you work in accounting? Yeah, but I'm planning to join the family restaurant full-time once I finish my degree, I replied. Richard set down his fork. Actually, I think your talents would be better utilized in our corporate office. I need someone with your background to help manage the books for all the restaurants. Really? I asked, surprised by the offer. Of course. Family helps family, Richard said, patting my shoulder. I'll pay you 20% more than your current job. Consider it done. Mom beamed at me. See? I told you Richard would take care of us. I quit my job the next week and started working for Richard. The office was modern and professional, a huge step up from my previous workplace. Richard introduced me to everyone as my brilliant stepdaughter and gave me my own office. Antonella, I need those quarterly reports by Thursday, Richard said, popping his head into my office one afternoon. Already done, I replied, handing him the folder. And I found some discrepancies in the supply orders for the downtown location. We were being overcharged by about 15%. Richard flipped through the pages, eyes widening. This is impressive work. You just saved us thousands. For the first year, everything was perfect. I streamlined accounting processes, found cost-saving measures, and even helped launch a new point-of-sale system that increased efficiency by 30%. Mom was thrilled that Richard and I worked so well together. How's it going with the family business? My best friend Jade asked over coffee one Saturday. Amazing, I told her. Richard's talking about making me CFO of the whole operation once we acquire 2 more restaurants next year. Jade looked skeptical. That sounds too good to be true. What about his son? Doesn't he want to be involved? I shrugged. Trevor works on the marketing side. We hardly overlap. Just be careful, Jade warned. I've seen how these family businesses work. Blood usually comes first. I dismissed her concerns, but I should have paid attention. Everything changed when Trevor started showing up at my meetings with Richard. I think we should revisit the expansion timeline, Trevor said during one meeting, contradicting my carefully researched proposal. But the numbers clearly show, I began. The numbers don't account for market instability, Trevor interrupted. Dad, I think we should hold off for at least 6 months. Richard nodded. Trevor makes a good point, Antonella. Let's shelve this for now. After the meeting, I cornered Richard in his office. What was that about? We've been planning this expansion for months. Trevor has concerns, Richard replied dismissively. He has good instincts for business. But the data. Sometimes business is more than just data, Richard cut me off. Trevor grew up in this industry. He understands the intangibles. I left his office fuming but determined to prove myself. I worked weekends, created comprehensive reports, and even landed us a lucrative catering contract with a local tech company. This is impressive work, my colleague Marcus said when I showed him the contract. Richard would be crazy not to see your value. Thanks, I replied. I just need to show him that I'm committed to growing the business. But the more I accomplished, the more Trevor seemed to undermine me. He'd schedule meetings when I couldn't attend, change project parameters without informing me, and take credit for my ideas. One Monday morning, Richard called me into his office. Trevor was already there, sitting in one of the chairs with a smug smile. Antonella, we're making some changes to the organization, Richard began. Trevor will be taking over as Chief Financial Officer, overseeing all accounting operations. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. But that's my position. You promised. I never officially made you CFO, Richard interrupted. Trevor has the educational background for this role. And as my son, he needs to learn all aspects of the business. What about me? I asked, struggling to keep my voice steady. You'll report to Trevor now. And given our current financial situation, we'll need to adjust your compensation package. Your salary will be reduced by 50% effective immediately. 50%? I gasped. That's not fair. I've increased profits by 28% in the last year alone. That was a team effort, Trevor interjected. And Dad needs to make fiscally responsible decisions. Richard nodded. Trevor's right. I'm sorry, Antonella, but this is a business decision. I stormed out of the office, tears streaming down my face. When I got home, Mom was waiting. Richard told me what happened, she said gently. Maybe it's for the best. Trevor does have more experience. Are you kidding me? I shouted. He has an MBA that Daddy paid for. I've been doing the actual work. Don't talk about Richard like that, Mom snapped. He gave you an opportunity when no one else would. He gave me a job to exploit me, then replaced me with his precious son the moment it was convenient. Mom shook her head. You're being dramatic. Just give Trevor a chance. You might learn something from him. I realized then that Mom was completely under Richard's spell. I was on my own. The next day, Trevor moved into my office, relegating me to a small cubicle outside. He immediately started changing all my systems and processes. These spreadsheets are too complicated, Trevor complained during our first meeting. Simplify them. They're comprehensive, I argued. They give us the complete financial picture. Just do what I say, Trevor snapped. I'm in charge now. I bit my tongue and nodded, but I wasn't going to take this lying down. That night, I called Jade. He can't just cut your salary in half, Jade said when I finished explaining. That's practically constructive dismissal. Tell that to Richard, I replied bitterly. He says it's a business decision. So what are you going to do? I paused, thinking. I'm going to take back what's mine, but I need to be smart about it. What's the plan? Jade asked. First, I need to understand exactly what Trevor and Richard are up to. Something doesn't add up. Over the next few weeks, I played the dutiful employee. I smiled through Trevor's incompetence and Richard's condescension. But after hours, I meticulously documented everything. Every bad decision, every policy violation, every instance where Trevor took credit for my work. You look tired, Marcus commented one afternoon as we worked late. Just trying to keep up with Trevor's demands, I replied carefully. Marcus looked around to make sure we were alone. Listen, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but Trevor's been meeting with investors behind Richard's back. I overheard him talking about spinning off the most profitable locations into a separate company. What? That would devastate Richard's business. Marcus nodded. And your mom's restaurant would be left in the original failing company. Do you have proof? I asked. Nothing concrete, but check the visitor logs. Trevor's had the same group of people coming in after hours for weeks. That night, I stayed late, hiding in the break room until everyone left. Once the office was empty, I slipped into Trevor's office and started searching through his files. In his desk drawer, I found a folder labeled Project Phoenix, containing detailed plans to create a new restaurant group with the 3 most profitable locations, excluding my family's restaurant. My hands shook as I took photos of the documents with my phone. This was the evidence I needed, but it wasn't enough. I needed Trevor and Richard to reveal their true colors to everyone. The next day, I approached Richard's assistant, Vivian, who had always been kind to me. Vivian, I need a favor, I said quietly. Can you schedule an all-staff meeting next Friday? Say it's Richard's request. Vivian hesitated. What's this about, Antonella? Justice, I replied. And I think you'll want to be there. Vivian had been with the company for 20 years and had seen her own position diminished when Trevor arrived. Consider it done, she said with a knowing look. Next, I reached out to our family's longtime business attorney, Mr. Chen. Mr. Chen, I need your advice, I began when we met for coffee. Hypothetically, if someone were planning to defraud their business partner. Mr. Chen listened carefully as I outlined what I'd discovered. Antonella, if what you're describing is accurate, this isn't just unethical. It could be illegal. What would you need to prove it? Documentation of the plan, witness testimony, and evidence of steps taken to execute the plan, he replied. And if I could provide all three? Mr. Chen's eyes narrowed. Then I would strongly advise bringing this information to all relevant parties immediately. With Mr. Chen's guidance, I spent the next week gathering evidence. I spoke with vendors who confirmed Trevor had approached them about switching to his new company. I documented conversations where Trevor openly discussed his plans with colleagues who thought I wasn't listening. And I prepared a comprehensive presentation of how Trevor's cost-cutting measures were designed to devalue my family's restaurant. The day of the all-staff meeting arrived. Trevor looked confused when he entered the conference room. "What's this about?" he asked Richard. Richard shrugged. Vivian said it was important. I walked to the front of the room, connecting my laptop to the projector. Thank you all for coming. I've called this meeting to discuss the future of our company. You called this meeting? Richard stood up, face reddening. You have no authority. Please, Richard, hear me out, I interrupted calmly. I think everyone here will want to hear what I have to say, especially you. The room fell silent as I began my presentation. I methodically outlined Trevor's plan, showing documentation, sharing vendor testimonials, and highlighting the financial impact on the original restaurant group, and specifically on my family's restaurant. This is ridiculous, Trevor sputtered. Dad, she's clearly making this up because she's jealous of my position. I clicked to the next slide, which showed Trevor's own emails to investors. Am I making this up, Trevor? Because these look like your words to me. Richard's face had gone from red to ashen. Trevor, is this true? Trevor's eyes darted around the room. It's just business strategy, Dad. I was going to bring you in eventually. After you stripped away the profitable locations? I asked. After my mom's restaurant was left to fail? I was protecting our interests, Trevor shouted. That restaurant has always been a drain on resources. Richard stood up slowly. Our interests? That restaurant is part of our family now. It's not our family, Trevor snapped. They're not blood. The room went completely silent. I watched as Richard stared at his son, seeing him clearly for the first time. Mr. Dawson? Mr. Chen said from the back of the room. As your company's attorney, I must advise you that what's been outlined here requires immediate attention. I'd be happy to discuss the legal implications in private. Richard nodded numbly. Everyone except Antonella, Trevor, and Mr. Chen, please leave the room. As the staff filed out, some patted my shoulder supportively. Marcus gave me a thumbs up. When we were alone, Richard turned to Trevor. Explain yourself. Trevor's facade crumbled. Dad, you've been so focused on Antonella and her mother that you've been neglecting the business. Neglecting me. I was just trying to secure our future. By stealing from me? Richard's voice was dangerously quiet. I wasn't stealing. I was restructuring. Behind my back, without my knowledge, while deliberately sabotaging your stepsister's position and undermining her work. Mr. Chen cleared his throat. Mr. Dawson, regardless of family dynamics, what's been described here potentially constitutes breach of fiduciary duty, corporate sabotage, and possibly fraud. Trevor's face drained of color. Dad, you can't be serious. You're going to take her side? Richard looked at me, then back at Trevor. Antonella has shown loyalty to this company, and to this family. You've shown neither. He turned to Mr. Chen. What are my options here? Legally, there are several avenues, Mr. Chen replied. But first, I'd recommend removing Mr. Trevor Dawson from his position and revoking any authority he has over company decisions. Done, Richard said firmly. Trevor, clean out your office. You're fired. You can't fire me, Trevor shouted. I'm your son. Yes, you are, Richard replied sadly. And that makes this betrayal even worse. As Trevor stormed out, Richard turned to me. Antonella, I owe you an apology. I was blinded by favoritism, and I made terrible decisions that hurt you and potentially the entire company. I didn't do this for an apology, I replied evenly. I did it because this company matters to me, and because my mom's restaurant deserves to thrive. Richard nodded. You're right, and I want to make things right. He looked at Mr. Chen. Draw up papers immediately to make Antonella the official CFO with full authority over financial decisions. And restore her salary. No, double it from her original amount before the cut. Mr. Chen nodded approvingly. A wise decision. 3 months later, the company was thriving. Trevor had tried to sue for wrongful termination, but Mr. Chen had easily defeated the claim with the evidence I'd gathered. Last I heard, Trevor was working as an assistant manager at a fast food chain, unable to find work in the restaurant industry after word got around about what he'd done. Mom was initially upset about the conflict, but when she saw the financial reports showing how Trevor had been systematically devaluing her restaurant, she understood. Richard and I now run the business as equal partners, with Mom taking a more active role in the original family restaurant. I still can't believe you pulled it off, Jade said as we celebrated the opening of our newest location. I smiled, watching Richard proudly showing Mom around the new space. Sometimes justice just needs a little push in the right direction. Richard caught my eye and raised his glass in a toast. I raised mine in return, knowing I had earned not just my position, but his respect. So that's my story. I didn't set out for revenge, but I wasn't going to let anyone, family or not, take what I had worked so hard to build. Sometimes standing up for yourself means taking risks and facing uncomfortable truths. But in the end, wouldn't you rather know where you really stand with the people in your life?